The next question comes from Pigster4900, who asks, how would you rate Modern Warfare 3 out of the recent COD games gameplay and content-wise? So, content-wise, when you say recent Call of Duties, I assume you mean since MW 2019, since that's kind of like when the new era of Call of Duty started. So, I would say content-wise, this is easily the most content-supported Call of Duty that we've had since this new era has started. In a way. So, this is really interesting. On the Warzone side of things, it seems like the content has been basically as consistent as ever. Just, you know, Warzone, that's kind of like their bread and butter. They're always kind of pushing stuff out over there. But for MW3, this is really interesting. So, in terms of zombies offerings, ever since this, like, new era of Call of Duties began, Cold War, there was a lot of content drought. So for the content that we got, it was really substantial. And by the time that the game ended, there was so much content to go through. Whether it was Onslaught, the other side modes, Outbreak, the 4 round-based experiences, especially with something like Onslaught. That's essentially like 20 plus zombie maps if you want to kind of look at it that way. I know that's kind of cheating, but I mean, like, still, there's a lot of variety and stuff to play there, so we had a lot of content there. Multiplayer was pretty content-rich, so I feel like Cold War would probably be like second up in terms of just like sheer content that we had by the time the game was done. But in Modern Warfare 3, in terms of launch content, there was a decent amount of zombie stuff to do, but the only issue is, or I guess like the only caveat to that is it was a lot of missions that kind of just involved you like going back into the open world over and over and over and over again with like very specific requirements, I guess, like, you know, kill a zombie with like dead wire, or kill this many zombies with this thing, or like kill certain mercenaries with this thing, whether you're talking about the camo grind or like the actual story missions themselves. A lot of them did kind of just come down to busy work, which in a way you could kind of chalk up to being like artificial replayability, even though there was a lot of like, you know, you had like the different story missions and stuff like that, but which they've gone on to continue to add in post-launch support. The only issue is that, you know, with a lot of the post-launch stuff that they have added to the game, sure, we got stuff like, you know, the Dark Ether rifts and the Elder rifts and stuff like that, and that stuff's cool and all, but the content that they have added just hasn't really felt, I don't know, like as substantial as something like a new round-based experience would, you know, like, even when they added stuff like the Act 4 missions, when we got the new missions like Countermeasures and Union and stuff like that, and there was a lot of cool stuff in those missions, I won't lie. Even going back to the first Act 4 mission that they added with Bad Signal, when you follow like the new Dark Ether worm and stuff like that, you know, it's really cool, but it's one of those things where it's like, okay, you're gonna play it once, and when you do play it once, that whole play session is only gonna last like, what, maybe 30 minutes to an hour tops, or something like a round-based experience. It's like, it's infinite really replayable, and to a certain extent, I would assume that more effort probably went into like a round-based map in like Cold War versus, I don't know, coding one of these missions, which it's usually just kind of made up of like scraps of code as is. Like, okay, you're escorting a thing, well, that's already a contract in the game, so all they had to do was kind of like transfer the code from that contract over to this. So in the zombies aspect, I don't know, I feel like towards the beginning of the game they were doing really good, but now it's kind of just down to like not only a skeleton crew that's working on the zombies updates, which, you know, we already know just kind of like from things that we've heard from behind the scenes from some of the developers, but also it's just pretty obvious, right? Like, we're getting very skeletal updates at this point with very not substantial content. Yes, we've gotten some new schematics, some new missions, and some new things here and there, but it's just been very scattershot and not very consistent. So as far as zombies is concerned, I would say it's hit or miss. We've gotten more support than we did back in something like, say, Call of Duty Vanguard when it came to the zombies aspect of things, but I don't know. But by the time that the game's over, when it's all said and done in retrospect, we'll have to see. That's one that I'll have to come back to. But in terms of multiplayer, no, multiplayer has blown every single other recent Call of Duty out of the water when it comes to just sheer content and support. The amount of weapons, way more than any other Call of Duty in recent years. When it comes to multiplayer maps, dog, we had 6 6v6 maps in Season 3 alone. Y'all remember Modern Warfare 2 where there was that one season when we got like, what, 2 or 3 maps and like one of them was a remake? Yeah, dog, literally, again, Season 3 we had like 6 brand new maps alone. Seasons 1 and 2 were also jam-packed with content, not to mention all the new modes, returning modes, and you know, even new innovative stuff like the new Get High mode that they added during like the whole 420 event. Like, that mode was insane, and that's the kind of stuff that we haven't seen from Call of Duty in years. Because like, well, yes, they do fun, quirky, wacky stuff like that. It's been a while since we really seen them dabble into like the, dude, what am I even playing territory like they did there. Not to mention all the smaller stuff you can go for inside of the game, like with the armory unlocks and different things that you can do and different events that they've had in the game. Like, oh my gosh, they've had events like, what, every 1 or 2 weeks? How many videos have I made this year? If you go to my Modern Warfare 3 playlist, literally like every other video is I unlocked da-da-da-da-da camo, because there's always camos and things to go for, and they just added the weapon prestiges to the game, so you got like the one-trick camo, and now the Molten Obsidian camo, and then seasons 5 and 6 are going to be bringing even more weapon prestige camos into the game to grind for. The amount of support and content, just on a content front alone in Modern Warfare 3, has been absolutely ridiculous in the best way possible. And then when it comes to the gameplay, I mean, like, the gameplay is amazing in terms of like the movement and just, you know, I mean, it's the MW engine. Everybody knows the MW engine feels great, but this game, obviously MW2 is going for a bit of a slower, more tactical, realistic approach in terms of the movement. You know, even when you were attack sprinting, it kind of just felt like the normal sprint here in Modern Warfare 3. When it came to the aiming and the shooting, it was a bit slower, again, a bit more realistic. Even when you cranked up that ADS speed, you know, when you crank up the ADS speed, especially with the aftermarket parts in MW3, you know, you go from like, you know, just like normal hip fire to like ADS just literally instantly. Whereas in MW2, you know, you kind of had to like pull it up, you know, just for a second, get ready to shoot. And I'm not necessarily saying that one thing is better than the other. You know, I loved Modern Warfare 2 and I love Modern Warfare 3. They're just two different feeling games. That being said, Modern Warfare 2 always kind of gave me the vibes of like Call of Duty Ghosts, where it's like, you know, the maps were a bit more expansive, you know, things were just a bit slower overall, you know, even things down to like the slide, for example, where everything just kind of, you know, just felt a bit more tactical, I guess. Just kind of felt like there was a bit more weight to it. Whereas Modern Warfare 3 just feels like Advanced Warfare minus the jetpacks. And again, that's obviously not a complaint, because I'm absolutely loving it.